Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, back again, back again. Check this out, y'all. I want y'all to listen to me. 70% of people in prison read at a 7th grade level or lower. In this story, I'm going to tell you about this guy that had a Celly that used to read and write his letters for him to his wife. To his wife. And the situation got kind of tricky because on one occasion, that's all it took was one time, this guy wrote her and said some things to her that influenced the way she started to treat her husband. And he began to simultaneously write her letters from himself and continue to write letters for his Celly. And his Celly was unaware of what was going on. And needless to say, it came out. It came out. And it got ugly. It got ugly. Because even though this man couldn't read or write, he was a prideful person. And it didn't end well. And I'm going to share that story with you. Because in prison, you know, you rarely find people that keep it all the way 100. You rarely find people that keep it all the way 100. Because like I've said before, everybody's looking for an angle. Everybody has an agenda. And sometimes that agenda requires the next man to get used, manipulated, and tossed to the side. So sit back, relax, and I hope you learn something out of this show. Check me out, y'all. Check me out. Look here, check this out. It's a young dude. I'm going to say he was in his late 20s. Gang member at that. Couldn't read, couldn't write. Couldn't read, couldn't write. Not a lick. So how is it that somebody can become a gang member and not read or write? How is that? Because they got lit, they got to learn, or things they got to know, and all of this. And so you got to learn how to read and write some kind of way, right? But what you might not understand is you got people in this world that you call functioning illiterates. They have a very good sense of remembering signs, what people say and how they say it, and to what context it means, and all of this whole kind of stuff. So they figure out a way to maneuver through life without actually putting in the work that would make it easier. It's a very complicated way to live. So this young brother, he learned all the signs by watching. He learned all the lit by listening. Memory was phenomenal. Phenomenal. And you could say the word, the cat and the mouse to him, but if you wrote it down, the exact same words, he wouldn't be able to read it back to you. He had no clue what the cat and the mouse was on paper. He couldn't spell it, and if you can't spell it, you can't read it. So anyway, he ends up in the cell with one of his brothers. And his brother is somebody that he had gotten close to because they were in the same organization. So he opened up to his brother about his wife. Pictures. Beautiful young lady, you know what I'm saying? Beautiful young lady. But he had no way of telling her, you know, how he felt in certain situations when it comes to writing. Because she would ask him all the time, why don't you write me a letter? Because she wrote him like every day. He's getting letters in the mail, pictures in the mail every day. Can't read none of them. She don't know this though. She don't know that he can't read. He's not telling her that. He don't want her to know because he's ashamed of that. So he's talking to her on the phone, and she'll ask him something about the letter. He'll pretend that he understands what she's talking about. Like, yeah, I did. This is what, I ain't got a chance to write back, but, this is what I think about this, that, or that, or this. The whole time, he gaming. But because she loved him, she never said anything that was not in her letters. She had no idea. She had no reason to see if he was lying, to test it. She would always say, well, what do you think about, what my brother said, or what do you think about this? She would always talk about what was actually in the letter. So she trusted him, and he trusted her. But his trust in her was based off of, her loving him, her being there for him. Her trust in him was based off of that, but he didn't trust her enough to share that part of him with her. He was embarrassed. So here we go. His Celly, around the same age. He ain't got nobody. They're in there, they both getting it. You know what I'm saying? They doing what they do. The house is full of commissary. They kicking it. They enjoying life. They're enjoying life. But you got to keep in mind, back then, we didn't have cell phones. It's the state phone, mail. That's it. Sometimes they would even allow you to send and receive cassette tapes. This ought to tell you how far back this is. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, he told his Celly something that he couldn't tell his wife. He told his Celly he couldn't read or write. And his Celly kept it 100 with him. Said, man, I got you. If you feel like, you want to say something to her, let me know. I'll write her. Because his Celly, he was smooth with that pen. There's a lot of people in here, they smooth with that pen. I'm talking about they got something to say. So his Celly started pulling out all the letters that she had written him. And in some of the letters, she's saying some things, a little hot. You know what I mean? Letting him know how she's feeling in this moment and that moment, and what she might be thinking about him in this way or that way. You know what I'm saying? All of that. All of that. But here's the thing. When his Celly is reading this to him, unbeknownst to him, his Celly is starting to formulate in his mind the come up. Because he's saying to himself, how would he ever know unless she told him? So what he does is he writes the letters for his Celly. But he's writing these letters. He's putting himself in them. He's putting things that he would want to say. He's listening to what his Celly is saying, but his Celly don't know if he's putting down what he wants him to say. But he's hitting her hard. I'm talking about he going at her. He's at her as if he's just met her and he's trying to come up. So she's feeling like, oh my, he's finally writing me. And he's saying all of these things that is just making her feel real good. Lifting her up. Telling her how much of a queen she is and how much she means to him and how attracted he is to her and he can't wait to be with her in every way, shape, and form. And he's putting it down. So when she's talking to him on the phone, she's telling him how much she loves him and how much she loved the letter. When she comes to visit, she's kissing on him and hugging on him and talking about, baby, I love you so much. I really like you. When you write me these letters, she don't even know. But see, he think his brother doing him a solid. Because when he goes back from visit or after he gets off the phone and she been hitting at him like that, he telling his brother, thank you, man, for writing a letter for me and saying what, I needed to say and all this and that. But he don't have a clue that his brother is plotting. He don't have a clue about that. So check this out. After a good 3-4 months, maybe 5 months, his Celly tells him, look, all these letters you've been getting, all these letters you've been responding to, saying all this stuff to, about, these letters been coming from me. You responding to what I've been saying. Your body's getting hot based off what I've been saying. Your man can't read or write. Why you think he didn't write you at the beginning of this thing? Why you think all of a sudden he just started to write you? But he don't want you to know that because he's embarrassed. But I'm going to tell you what. This is how he hit her. If you tell him that I told you this, I'm going to tell him that you hit on me. And he'll never know because he can't read or write. I'm going to read a letter to him from you, putting you in a position that, like you coming on to me. She falls for it. She writes him back and tells him that it's okay. I won't say anything. Thank you for writing me for him. She's not looking at it the way he's looking at it. She's like, I understand he's embarrassed. I'll never say anything. But thank you for writing me for him. But you don't have to write me anymore. You know what I'm saying? This, and that. And she tells her husband in the VG that, you know, it's hard to keep writing like this. She's trying to give him an out. And he's excited. He's like, no, I'm going to keep writing. She said, well, I might not be able to write you every day like it because I got to work. I got other things I got to do. But I'll talk to you on the phone and I'll talk to you and visit. But we don't have to write every day. She's trying to pull back without, you know what I'm saying, making him feel like she knows what's going on because she don't want to embarrass him. Plus, she's feeling uncomfortable about what his Celly has said to her on behalf of him. Some of it is sexual. Some of it is too personal. He's asking her things as if he was her husband. Do this, do that. And now that she knows it's not her husband, she's feeling like any other woman would feel that wants to be loyal to her husband. She's feeling uncomfortable. She's feeling vulnerable. Because she shared intimate details about what she wanted to do to him in those letters, and now she knows that another man read those letters. And the words that she got from her husband were not her husband's words. So she's feeling some type of way. I would imagine that any woman would feel weirded out by that. But here's the thing. He keeps writing her. He keeps writing her. Now, all of a sudden, she's writing her husband one letter, writing him another. Because she's trying to tell him, stop doing this. Because if he ever finds out, it could end their marriage. He's a very prideful person, and it's going to hurt him. And she don't want to do that. She does not want to do that. Now, this is a good woman. This is a good woman. But she's green to the game of the penitentiary. She's green to it, like most people are. So dude keep writing. And he's getting more and more aggressive with her. Telling her that he wants pictures of this and he wants pictures of that. Now keep in mind, back in the day, we could have those types of pictures. You know, panty shots, stuff like that. We could have those types of pictures. Not all nude. Not that. But some people would sneak them in or whatever, but we couldn't actually get them in the mail. So he's asking her for pictures. Cut off the head, show the body. She refuses to do that. And he tells her, I'm going to tell him. And she gets nervous. So when she goes to visit, she does like any woman would do. She tells her man everything that's going on and what's been happening and why she's slacked up on writing and all of this and that by what his Celly had been doing. And she begged him to not do anything. But this is what he told her to do. He said, get all of those letters. You got to keep in mind, they're gang members. They're gang members. So he told her, get all those letters and mail them back to me. Mail them all back. And what he did, you know, they crippin'. They ain't playing about that, man. So what he did, he went to the OG. And he sat down with the OG and told him, look here, man. This is what's been going on, man. This is what's been going on. This man been getting at my wife. I trusted him. but he betrayed my trust. You feel me? Man, I got to see him. But he said, when I see him, he got to go. Ain't going to be no one-on-one and then he get to stay on the compound. None of that. He got to go. So the OG tell him, he said, man, handle your business. He said, you didn't even have to come to me with this. You could have took care of your business, man, and we'd have dealt with that later. You know what I'm saying? Because the OG told him I would have smashed him off the top. He said, no. He said, the reason I came to you before I did this is because dude good with his mouth. He might figure out a way to talk out of it. I'm laying it all out to all of y'all before I go do what I got to do. Now, this fool, he don't even know that he finna get it. Now you got some of the other little homies saying, I'm going with you. Because they were like, if he'll do that to you, he'll do that to us. Man, look here, they bumped down on dude. I'm talking about they put that Memphis Jack on him, man. I'm talking about that woo-wee good golly Miss Molly. This dude is screaming and shouting for his life. Somebody help me. Ain't no help coming. Ain't no help coming. Before it was over, dude was hollering, Jesus. I'm talking about listen to me when I tell you. They beat him so bad, they got tired. I'm talking about they beat him so bad, they had to sit down, catch their breath, and then they got up and started again. Everybody in the room soaking wet from sweat. He laying in the middle of the floor. They taking turns just kicking it, beating it. And then they finally throw him out the cell. Tell the police, get him out of here. They take him to the back. His career over. He won't write no more letters. Because dude stomped his hands to the point to where he broke 3 or 4 of his fingers, man. I'm talking about he broke them things. He just kept on and kept on. Dude was down he was beat down so much, he couldn't even resist. He couldn't even move out the way. And when he got to the back, everybody knew what it was. Even the police was messed up with it. So they didn't lock nobody up behind it because he wouldn't say nothing. And the police that was in the pod, it wasn't his business. He looked the other way, man. Just tell you how it was back then. He looked the other way. So when he went to visit, he told his wife he appreciated her telling him that. And he was ashamed of telling her that he couldn't read, but he didn't want her to know that. Now, see, that's one of those situations where she kept it 100. A lot of times, man, a lot of women don't do that. They won't keep it 100. They'll keep that secret thinking that they're protecting their dude, but they're not. So listen to me out there, ladies. If you find yourself in a situation like that where you think you're being tricked, tell your man. Tell your man. I'm not saying you should encourage him to do this or do that, but tell him. Because if you don't tell him, he gonna think you was with it. He gonna know you was with it. Trust what I'm saying to you. It's been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.